All right, hello, welcome back to Unqualified Analysis, Week 7 recap edition of Unqualified Analysis. I'm your host, Caleb. You can follow me on the socials at CalebVUA. Link is down in the description. Like I said, today we got Week 7 in the NFL. I'm wearing a shirt that's entirely too small for me. It's usually an undershirt. Cut me some slack here, folks. Didn't feel like changing for the episode. I apologize, but we're just going to breeze right past it, and I'm not going to acknowledge it again. So yeah, today it's a recap episode for the NFL, and then I got a look forward into next week. Which, speaking of which, I should pull up those odds right now instead of waiting to do it at the end of the episode when I awkwardly have to look that up. I'm just going to awkwardly look it up now. We're just going to get it right out of the way. Okay, so there's the Google search. There is the website. And now one more thing, all markets. Okay, next week's slate is up and running, folks. Okay, so today got the recap, like I've said 4 times now. We've got the look ahead to next week and the odds, and I have got 7, count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 new bets to add to the slate to bring our grand total to 8 for this week. You thought the offensive was slowing down. No. We retooled, and we're firing bigger guns this time, so to speak. So, I mean, we're locked and loaded, baby. We are ready to continue this offensive and recapture the ground that we lost last week, and that's my promise to you. Not to recapture it necessarily, but I'm going to try my damnedest. I'm certainly going to try my best, but that's all to come at the end of this episode. Stick around for that, or skip to the end. At this point, it is what it is. I understand if and that's what you want to do, but let's pop right into this bad boy and just go chronologically. Kind of scroll through, see if I could jog my memory for any particular games that stuck out that I should hit up top. Not really. There's obviously a major injury that happened this week, a couple actually, but one that probably sticks out in your mind that you've already heard about that I'm going to opine on. Outside of that, though, nothing that bears hitting at the top of the show, I suppose. So we're just going to do this thing chronologically. Starting out last Thursday, a week ago, as you are probably listening to this today, the Broncos traveled to New Orleans to play the Saints. Sean Payton's return to New Orleans. Long, storied history in that city, so he was greeted with open arms for the most part. And he walked in there, and I'll tell you what, the Saints do stink. I will tell you what, the Saints do stink. Broncos beat them 33-10. Turns out that Rashid Shaheed, that little knee injury, it's going to keep him out the rest of the season, so he's out for the rest of the year. Starting Spencer Rattler, not going great, not going fantastic. I mean, he, solid enough numbers, 25 of 35, but 172 yards, couple interceptions, or at the very least one interception. I'm not going in there on the box score. We're just going to kind of breeze past this game. But that 2-0 start was fun. 5 straight losses since then. They've gone over a month without a win. But that'll happen. That'll happen sometime. That's just football, baby. That's just football sometimes. The Broncos, 4-3. Do I think they're all that good? Not really, but 4-3. Maybe Bo Nix will start looking like the number 12 overall pick. Who's to say? But the Broncos are above 500. They got a great defense, and they whooped up on the Saints without even having Patrick Surtain in there. So they might be legit. Man. Now, granted, they do have to contend with the Chiefs in the AFC West, also the Chargers. The Raiders do stink, so there's not really that worry to worry about there. But, I mean, they're not a bad football team. I don't think they're good necessarily, but they're not a bad football team. They have a really good defense, and if the offense can just run the ball like they did in this one, hey man, they're gonna be a real playoff contender, especially in an AFC that is real down this year. Not very good, the AFC. Total flip, reversal of fortune from what it has been over the last several years, with the NFC being lights out this year. In the AFC, not so much. But we'll keep it moving from here. We have got the Sunday slate of games. First off, Jaguars got a nice home game in London, and it took advantage, as they say, of the home field advantage. They win against the Patriots 32-16. The Patriots look about as hapless as you could possibly look, but at the very least, Drake May didn't have a bad first start. Soft landing against the Jacksonville Jaguars there, but not bad. Had the only 2 touchdowns that the Patriots had all game, threw for 276 yards, was hucking the pigskin. Unfortunately, you gave up 32 points to the Jaguars, so yeah, not going to win a whole lot of games like that. And against the Jaguars, it's extra embarrassing. Tank Bigsby kind of went off in this game, 118 yards, 2 touchdowns. He is probably going to supplant Travis Etienne at some point this season. Just a matter of time at this point. But for right now, I think Travis Etienne is still technically the starter. So yeah, it's going to be a good timeshare there, I suppose. I think the Jaguars are good in the backfield, if nothing else, and I think there might be nothing else that they're good at over there. But hey, second win. You got off the schneid, and you're not number 1 overall anymore. So there's some good, there's some bad, mostly bad, but at this point, I guess that's kind of what you're hoping for. But if Trent Baalke's making the pick, I don't really have a whole lot of hope for you anyways, I suppose. Patriots, boy, are they stinky. Boy, are they just stinky poo-poo garbage. I will tell you what. I think they're just kind of hoping to get the number 1 overall pick at this point, so they can just trade it away for picks. Like, they need so much at all levels of the team, essentially. They need so much, and you're just hoping that Drake May doesn't get killed back there if you're a fan right now. But they are probably the worst team in the NFL. There is a couple notable contenders for that spot, though, and we're going to talk about all of them pretty much going forward. So, moving on to the 1 o'clock games, we got the Seattle Seahawks at the Atlanta Falcons. I honestly kind of was leaning the Falcons in this game. And as a wise man once said, never put hard-earned money on the Falcons. That wise man may have been me. It's probably probably thousands of people, quite frankly, who have bet on the Falcons at some time. And that was a good instinct. The Seahawks beat them 34-14. I am still as perplexed as ever about the Seattle Seahawks as a team. They lose 3 straight, and then they dominate a solid Falcons team. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but here we are. The Seahawks, though, they did make a move this week. Now, it was a trade of 2024 free agents. Well, I guess not free agents, but let me explain here. So the Seahawks traded Jerome Baker and a 4th-round pick, I believe, to the Titans for Ernest Jones. So if you would notice there, just based on if you'd followed the personnel moves, Jerome Baker was brought in as a free agent by the Seahawks over the summer, and Ernest Jones was traded to the Titans over the summer. So maybe not necessarily buyer's remorse, but hey, need for need. The Seahawks, they needed themselves a pass rusher. The Titans could use just about anything. So you get that draft pick and you get an inside linebacker. Couldn't hurt. So I don't hate it there. I don't hate it at all. But yeah, still perplexed by the Seahawks. I assume that as the season goes on, they're going to get better under the new coaching regime. I feel very strongly about the regime that they brought in as far as the quality of the coaching staff goes. So hey, maybe this is just the start of them rounding into shape and making a run at the playoffs. We'll just have to watch them going forward here. Speaking of the Titans, just talked about them trading away Ernest Jones. Maybe they're trading away for assets because they stink like hot garbage. The Bills beat them 34-10. The Bills look the part. I mean, like we said last week here on the show, not panicking about the Bills. They just ran into, a buzzsaw of an offense in the Ravens. You go up against a team like the Titans. Yes, they are a bad team, but they did exactly what they were supposed to do against a bad team. Beat them into the dirt and ground them into a fine powder. And that's exactly what they did. And a little side bonus, rookie wide receiver Keon Coleman, 4 receptions for 125 yards. And new acquisition, new number 1 wide receiver in Buffalo, Amari Cooper, caught his first touchdown as a Buffalo Bill. So a lot to be excited about if you're Buffalo. If you're a Titans fan, you know there's the draft coming up. You got a need at quarterback. You're going to have a brand shiny new quarterback in there. That's pretty fun, huh? That's pretty exciting, huh? Hey, could be good times. And I mean, we can't put this loss on Will Levis. I mean, the guy didn't play, but I think Will Levis isn't it. I think that's pretty safe assumption at this point. So hey, maybe you get Shedeur Sanders in there. We'll see if Deion lets him go to the Tennessee Titans. But hey, maybe you can get him in there. Probably wouldn't go the Carson Beck route, and I'm not really sure what other options you're going to have outside of that. Hey, maybe Cam Ward. Hey, take a spin on the Cam Ward cycle there. It's bad. It's bad in Tennessee now. They have been firmly in Scott Van Pelt's poop town for quite some time, and I think they're going to be establishing a permanent residence there. They're signing a 1-year lease, I would say, and then we'll reevaluate after that 1 year. But the Titans are bad, and the Bills are very, very good. Oh my goodness, they're very good, and I hope Keon Coleman keeps having games like that, because that means we get more Keon Coleman press conferences. And that's never a bad thing. That's simply never a bad thing. So keep feeding the ball to Keon Coleman, and we'll love you forever, Buffalo. I think we already kind of do. Just such a lovable franchise, quite frankly. But hey, we'll love you even more if you keep getting Keon Coleman into star territory. That's all I ask. Just a humble suggestion. Just a humble suggestion. Okay, let me get that out of my eye. Pause that video. We don't need it playing. It doesn't need to be playing at all. Okay, and we'll continue on from there. The Bengals go on the road to the Browns, and it was not pretty, but they do get a win. They do stop the bleeding. Bengals are 3-4 after a 21-14 win over the Cleveland Browns, who now fall to 1-6. I could talk about the Bengals winning. I could talk about, hey, maybe this is the turning point all I want, but come on, man. Let's be real here. The story coming out of this game was that Deshawn Watson goes down with a non-contact injury. Pretty much the clearest Achilles tear in the history of Achilles tears. I mean, you could see it happening in real time when you watch it. It's pretty easy to see. So he goes down. They confirm that on Monday. He's out for the season. And I think he may have played his last snap as a Cleveland Browns quarterback. It's just, how on earth can you justify keeping him around? I don't care what the cap hit is. I've said this before, and I'll say it till the cows come home or until there's a resolution on this. It's a sunk cost at this point. Unless he is no longer a good boy and starts having more transgressions off the field where you can void his contract, which I'm pretty sure that's what they're trying to do at this point, you're going to have to pay him. You guaranteed him $230 million. That just is what it is. It's already signed, sealed, and delivered. There's nothing you can do about that. At this point, it's best to just cut ties. You can't do anything about it. You dug yourself this hole. It's only going to get worse the more that you keep, sunk cost fallacy, leaning harder into Deshaun Watson. Just cut ties, reset, go get a quarterback from somewhere, somehow. It just can't be Deshaun Watson. And this isn't even due to the fact that he's nasty, because he is nasty. He is an absolutely nasty guy, and you don't want to be around him. That's an absolute fact. That's besides the point, though. He's been the worst quarterback in the NFL for the last season and a half at this point. He is what he is. If he was going to bounce back from his extended layoff for legal and disciplinary reasons, he would have bounced back by now. It just doesn't have it anymore. Whether it's mental, whether it's some sort of physical deterioration that happened while he was away from football, I don't know if it really matters. The fact of the matter is he's cooked. He's not good anymore. I'm not sure he's ever going to play a down of professional football again, unless it's in one of those feeder leagues like the UFL or something like that. He's just done, and you need to get him out of the building. It's probably for the best that he's no longer your quarterback, and that now we got Jameis Winston coming in, calling plays like he's telling a secret. I mean, man, I cannot wait for the Jameis Winston press conferences. He's so entertaining. He's so entertaining. And now he is also a little bit nasty. On the nasty scale, though, he falls not quite so far in the direction of Deshaun Watson. He is nasty, though. Let's not forget that. He's funny. He's funny at the very least, and he hasn't committed a transgression in quite some time. He groped an Uber driver. That's a fact. That is a stated fact, and he's been suspended for that. So let's not forget that. But still, probably a better guy than Deshaun Watson, which is speaking to the Deshaun Watson of it all here. Enough of that, though. Let's just put Deshaun Watson, erase him from your memory. Don't even think about him. He might as well not even exist anymore. So we're going to move on from there. I'm going to fix my glasses real quick. Also take this opportunity in between games to take a nice swig of this Coca-Cola. Not sponsored, just a good carbonated cola drink. But yeah, then we're going to move on from there, so let's just do it. Now we got to wait for the aftershocks here. Okay. Yep, I think we're good. Okay, so now on to the next game. The Texans go on the road to the Packers in storied Lambeau Field, and they catch their second L of the season, both of them being to the NFC North, as the Packers win it in a thriller 24-22. Brandon McManus straight off the street and right onto the field, comes in there, kicked 3 extra points, but was not asked to make a field goal throughout the game. First field goal attempt, go out there and hit the game winner, why don't you? And I'll be damned if he didn't go out there and absolutely crush it. And let's not forget, I don't know what the circumstances of the lawsuit filed was. I have no idea. I think the lawsuit was dismissed. It wasn't settled. It was dismissed. I don't know the reason for its dismissal. But moral of the story is here, getting past all of that, Brandon McManus was not unemployed because of his skills on a football field kicking the football. It was always because of the lingering off-field situation, and there's just too much baggage there to retain a kicker. The kickers are entirely too replaceable to keep a guy around with that hanging over his head. It just looks bad on the franchise. So that's why he was unemployed. With that out of the picture, and now him back with the Packers now, I think the Packers might have found themselves a long-term kicker, man, because he is still a really solid kicker with a massive leg, and you need a massive leg to kick well in those possibly windy conditions there in Lambeau Field. So I just feel like, it was rocky at the start with Narveson, really rocky throughout the entire 6 games that he was the kicker. Now maybe it all worked out in their favor. Maybe it did all work out in their favor. Did they start the season with Chris Joseph? What a mistake that would have been. My goodness. Shout out to Chris Joseph, man. Shout out to him. I hope he's making money somewhere right now. I think he's with the Giants or something like that. I don't know. I'm going to stop trailing off, though. Yeah, I think the Packers found their kicker for the long term. I feel like McManus is going to come in there and he's going to be nothing but solid. I think he realizes that he has gotten a second chance, and he's lucky to get that second chance, and I think he's going to grasp it. I think he's going to firmly grasp it like Patrick Starr wants him to, and I think he's going to just keep this rolling throughout the rest of the season. Honestly, Packers, like I said, rocky start, maybe ended up in the best possible situation when it was all said and done, though. Not a bad addition there in the middle of the season to address and really kind of completely resolve the biggest issue on the entire team with the kicking situation. So brilliant move by Brian Gutekunst and everyone involved there, bringing him onto the team. Just big time move there from the Packers. As far as the Texans are concerned, this is the second time this year where they face off against a legitimate contending team. Now, the NFC North is nasty. I joked about them getting 2 losses, both to the NFC North. That's because I would say maybe the 4 best teams in the NFC, all in that division. I know, like, at the very least, we're probably thinking 3 of the top 5 best teams in the NFC, with obviously the Lions, the Vikings, and the Packers, probably all top 5. I think that's fair to say. That's besides the point, though. The thing here is there always seems to be, okay, what happens? So the Texans go into a big game, and they go up against a solid defense, and all of a sudden, they can't run the football consistently. They run a ton on early downs, and they're just bogged down by it. And yes, this was a close game, but you only scored 22 points. And I understand that the Packers defense is better this year. Jeff Hafley seems to be a really solid hire for the Packers. I really just like, man, the Packers are just such a well-run organization. It annoys me, don't get me wrong, but they're such a well-run organization that I'm constantly amazed at how they upgrade. They finally seem to have worked out the defensive coordinator position. That was the biggest hole in the decision-making process for them. But I don't know how I started. I don't know how I got on, sucking off the Packers again. Let's just stop doing that. The Texans, though, this is the second time this season where you've seen some real flaws in the makeup of the team, and I don't know, maybe Bobby Slowick just isn't it, man. I feel like when you have a quarterback like C.J. Stroud, when you have the weapons that he has, and I mean, even without Nico Collins, who was looking like a top 5 receiver in the league, was leading the league in receiving yards when he went out, even without him, you still got Tank Dell, you still got Stephon Diggs, you still got Dalton Schultz at tight end, Joe Mixon coming out of the backfield. You expect more from this offense than what they've been putting out against good teams. And I understand you're going against better defenses, so there's going to be a natural drop-off there, but it shouldn't be as precipitous as it has been against good teams this year. And I don't know what changes you have to make. Obviously, the offensive line is still a work in progress. As per usual, Laramie Tunsil is playing well, and the rest of the offensive line is kind of, not a disaster, but not looking great either. So, obviously, got to address the offensive line, but you got to have a real honest conversation about the offensive coordinator. Now, he's a young coordinator. This is only his second year calling plays, but you hope to see improvement as the season goes along because there's not a long leash in this league when it comes to performance. If you don't perform, they're going to yank you quick, and if you perform horribly, they're going to yank you really quick. So I'm just saying Bobby Slowick should come around because he's not going to have that job for much longer if the Texans keep performing like they are performing. And people are going to start having that conversation soon if they're not having it already. Texans, though, still 5-2. Still probably one of the 3 to 4 best teams in the entire AFC. So I have no real concerns about them in the short term, but eventually these flaws are going to come back to bite them in the most critical moments. Obviously talking about the playoffs there. So it's something they're going to have to address. I don't know what they can do in the middle of the season, but it's a situation to monitor. We got a lot of situations to monitor right now. What do you expect? It's week 7. Okay, so we got the Dolphins at the Colts, and you know what? I'm just going to save everyone the heartache here and just say the Colts won 16-10. Anthony Richardson looks horrible. I think this was always everyone's concerns whenever he was coming out because he was never, good at Florida. Just an incredible athlete that you knew some GM was going to fool himself into taking. You went 10 of 24 in this game, but you win, okay? You won the game. The Dolphins, looks like Tua's coming back this week, by the way. That's another thing to look forward to in this coming week. Maybe not this week, but certainly next week if he doesn't come back this week. So we'll have to see what the Dolphins offense looked like when he comes back. But I digress. Still, you faced the Dolphins when they were starting Tyler Huntley. And yes, the defense performed well. I don't think the Colts are good. They are 4-3 though, so credit where credit is due. I think Shane Steichen is doing just the best that he can. But it's just not a very good team. So yeah, we're not gonna dwell on that. Dolphins are 2-4. You're getting Tua back though, so I think you stemmed the bleeding enough to kind of, at the very least, give yourself a chance. We'll see how good that chance is, but you get to play the Patriots. I don't know if they've already played them once, but you get Patriots twice on your schedule, so that can't hurt. Can't hurt. They did already play the Patriots, and they won 15-10 last week. Actually, I'm pretty fucking stupid. So yeah, there is that. Tua coming back. Maybe there's hope. Maybe you see a few more Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle go balls. Could be fun. We're not going to dwell on that game. Oh yes, this is the one that I should have hit up top, and I'm kicking myself for not doing it now that I noticed. I don't know how I didn't notice. It's my own fucking team. The Lions though go on the road to the Vikings, and I think it is pretty safe to say establish themselves for right now as the best team in the NFC North. They go on the road. They get a gutsy win against the Vikings. Now, the Vikings did jump out to a 10-0 lead in this game. But after that, 21 unanswered in the second quarter, and it wasn't over from there. The Vikings made a hell of a run at it in the fourth quarter, ultimately took the lead, but just critical moment of the game. It's 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5, something like that. Sam Darnold rolls out to his right, has 2 receivers. I believe it's Addison and Naylor sitting over there. Maybe it's Addison and Jefferson. I can't remember what the combination was. Doesn't matter. Misses both of them. misses high, so you stop the clock, you send the ball back to the Lions, and of course, what do the Lions do? They get into field goal range, hit the go-ahead field goal, and that's pretty much game, set, match right there. Just a brutal way to go out. I don't feel any differently about the Vikings. They're still a championship contending team. Not just NFC, NFL, total as a whole. I'm talking Super Bowl contending team, and I don't think anyone's debating that at this point. But again, like I alluded to earlier, I'd say 3 to 4 of the 5 best teams in the entire conference are in one division this year, and that is the NFC North. The Lions are probably number 1 in the NFC right now. Vikings are probably right there at number 2 because I got to respect the head-to-head. It was a close head-to-head. There's even an argument to be made that if the Vikings make a different play call or Sam Darnold throws a better ball on third down there, we're not even talking about this because the Vikings would have won the game. They'd be 6-0. But if ifs were fists, we'd all be drunk. That it is what it is there. I think I just sounded like a 57-year-old man there saying that phrase. Maybe even older than that. That's wild. I use some old people phrases sometimes, but that's a new one. That's a new one that I have not uttered. I don't think ever, quite frankly. That was distracting right there. Either way, though, all the credit in the world to the Lions. It looked like they might have lost David Montgomery for a little bit there. They didn't. He's fine. Jahmyr Gibbs, though, he had one of those long runs where you saw the speed. You saw the reason why he was drafted as highly as he was. Basically just makes one cut in the outside, gone for 45 yards and a touchdown. He just walked off on him. It was not even close. And he has that running style where it barely even looks like he's trying. So he's just walking off on dudes and looking casual about it. He is spectacular. David Montgomery is so good too. They're clearly, far and away the best 1-2 punch at running back in the entire league. Behind a great offensive line. They are the absolute straw that stirs the drink for the Lions. They make this whole machine go. The offensive line then make this whole machine go. They're a big reason, maybe the biggest reason why they're the number 1 team in the NFC right now. I should mention, the entire offense for the Lions balled in this game. There's no other way to put it. They just absolutely balled out. They were lights out. Amon-Ra St. Brown went for 112 and a tud. Jared Goff, I think, broke Jaden Daniels' record for completion percentage over a 4-game span at like 83%. He went 22 of 25 for 280 yards in this game. He was insane. He's been insane. He's playing MVP level football right now. What a career renaissance coming to the Lions was. He was a throw-in in that trade for Matthew Stafford to the Rams, and ultimately he's turned into a bona fide top 10 quarterback in this league. There's no other way that you can consider him right now. All the credit in the world to Jared Goff in this game. The Lions, like I said, best team in the NFC right now. The Vikings, though, we can't forget what they've done throughout the course of this season so far. Even with Sam Darnold not playing great football, they're still playing some beautiful, beautiful football right now. And even Sam Darnold didn't put up a whole lot of touchdowns in this game, but still, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 9.6 yards per attempt, 22 of 27. He was efficient for most of this game. Aaron Jones, he was spectacular in this one. Justin Jefferson, 7 receptions, 81 yards, and a touchdown. He was pretty damn good. Jalen Naylor stepped up. Jordan Addison was playing well. You got a lot of solid players in this offense still. And oh, by the way, looks like TJ Hawkinson not exactly trending to play on Thursday night, but almost certainly in week 9, he's back. He's absolutely back. So you add one more weapon into that whole equation. And at some point, you're going to get Dalton Reisner back in there, which will be an upgrade on the offensive line. It's just a stacked team. And that's before you even get to the defense, who had 4 sacks in this game. Andrew Van Ginkel continues to be an absolute menace out there. Jonathan Grenard got another sack. He's on fire. Ivan Pace had a touchdown in this game. Returned one for a touchdown. Also led the team in tackles. There's just players up and down the roster. I didn't even name them all. There are so many good, solid, quality players on this defense. So I don't have any worries about the Vikings. I think they still are the second best team in the NFC, top 5 team in the NFL, pretty undisputably at this point. they're going to be fine. They're going to be absolutely fine, and I have no worries about them. I would prefer they win against the Lions next time. I'll just put in that request right now, though. We can kind of breeze past this game. The Eagles bounce back against the Giants. They win 28-3. Jalen Hurts kind of sucked, but still 10 of 14, 114. A touchdown, not terrible. Saquon Barkley went off in his return to New York. 17 carries, 176 yards, a touchdown. He has been doing wonders for my fantasy team. This may be one of the best years of fantasy that I've ever had right now. We are on fire right now. Everything is aces for your boy. Life is so good. It is incredible how good life is. You should get your life like mine. Good. Just good. Real good. And I hope you all get there one day. However, it is worth noting, A.J. Brown had 89 of the 114 yards that Jalen Hurts threw for. Eagles still have issues. They are still 4-2, though, and they play in a god-awful division. So they're probably going to make the playoffs. Who's to say whether Nick Sirianni keeps his job? I'm still leaning towards no at this point in time. Giants stink. That's all I got to say about the Giants. They fucking stink. The Rams got in just an absolute rock fight. Just bloodied, battered, bruised. Two teams that are sad to watch at this point in time. The Raiders, though, go on the road. They lose to the Rams 20-15. Matthew Stafford led this game in passing with 154 yards. That should tell you everything you need to know about the game flow here. It was stinky poo-poo garbage. I'll tell you that right this second. Brock Bowers, 10 receptions for 93 yards. He is on fire this year. He is, not shockingly, the exact player that I thought he would be. I still think he's the best player that came out of this 2024 draft, and I think in the long term that's going to bear out. I think it's him and Malik Neighbors that are pretty much separating themselves right now in year one. Rams, only thing I'm really going to hit on here is that the Rams, they are getting Cooper Kupp back this week. He is coming back from, I believe, a knee injury. He's coming off IR, so you're getting help right in time for the Minnesota Vikings. Fucking fun. However, they're still 2-4. We'll see where it goes from here. The Seahawks seem to be coming around. The Niners, they got an injury situation piling up that we're going to talk about here in a second. But they're still a solid football team, even with the attrition that they've endured. Really, even the Cardinals aren't a gimme. They just beat the Chargers on Monday night in a thrilling game. So it's going to be an uphill climb, but getting Cooper Kupp back helps. And hey, maybe Ernest. Well, no, they didn't trade for Ernest Jones. They traded him away before. I stand corrected. Actually, in the division. He's back in the division, which is kind of hilarious. Anyways, we're going to move on from there because I don't want to talk about those sad teams right now. Raiders. Shedeur Sanders might be your quarterback. Just saying. Panthers go on the road to the Commies, and they get absolutely annihilated. 40-7. Jaden Daniels was out after the first series with a rib injury. Don't know if it's a bruise. Don't really know if it's a break. Some sort of rib injury. He's questionable for this coming week, but he was out early. And Marcus Mariota kind of balled. 18 of 23, 205 yards, 2 touchdowns. Brian Robinson scored a touchdown. Basically, they just lit the Panthers on fire without their starting quarterback still. Cliff Kingsbury, man. Bad head coach, don't get me wrong. Really fucking good offensive coordinator. I did not expect this. Hand up. I will be the first to say I did not expect this to go as well as it has gone. And it's going fantastic with the Commanders. I feel like every hire they made this offseason, from hiring Adam Peters as the GM, following that up with the hire of Dan Quinn, following that up with Cliff Kingsbury. Really, the defense even only gave up 7 points, which, they're playing the Panthers, so not the biggest thing to write home about, but still, defense is improving. I think they just knocked it out of the park with this offseason. They're a year ahead of schedule, just on the strength of doing basically everything right throughout the entire offseason. Hey, that Josh Harris ownership group seemingly has their shit together. At least they seem to have that right now. And I continue to be immensely impressed by the Commanders. far and away the biggest surprise team of this season has been the Commanders, and I think they're ultimately going to win that division. They're the best team in that division right now, and I would say I stake my reputation on that, but what kind of reputation do I really have? Either way, though, as far as the Panthers go, looks like Andy Dalton broke his thumb in this game. So they're going back to Bryce Young this coming week. I'm sure that's going to go great, and everyone's going to be happy with that. I'm sure he's going to drive up his trade value. So, yeah, have fun with that. The Panthers are 1-6. They are, permanent residents in Poop Town with the Titans. The Jaguars are trying to pack their things, but the authorities aren't really letting them leave. They know that they belong there. They should be sequestered in Poop Town. And, of course, the Patriots. We got some real stinky dog shit teams this year. I'll tell you what. Real stinky dog shit. Okay. It's a cue that I should take a swig of this Coca-Cola. How are we doing on time? I think we're making good time. I think we're making real good time. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're making fine time. Fine time, I say. Okay, so we're moving on to the final 4 o'clock game of the slate. The Chiefs go on the road to the 49ers and, basically continue the destruction of the 49ers team. They win the game 28-18. There is that. Chiefs are the lone undefeated team left in the NFL now that the Vikings have lost a game. So the Chiefs is still the Chiefs, and we'll talk about them in just a second. But Brandon Ayuk goes out in this game. It's a torn ACL. He is done for the year. I feel like there were other injuries that I'm not remembering, but also Deebo Samuel went to the hospital for pneumonia. Still might play this next week. Kind of a wild scenario that you don't generally see in a football setting, a guy just getting pneumonia and having to be hospitalized for that. So that's fun. That's good times. Basically, by the end of this game, Ricky Pearsall was like their number one wide receiver because Juwan Jennings was out. They had Jacob Cowing playing a pivotal role in the receiving core. Basically, George Kittle's going to have to carry this receiving core going forward because Juwan Jennings is your number 2, and he's he's a fine player, a really good number 3. As a number 2, you might have a receiving issue. What you really need is first-round pick Ricky Pearsall to step up in a big way. Allow him a little bit of grace coming off of, being shot in the chest. So give him some time there, but the Niners really need him to step up and be worthy of that first-round pick that they spent on him because they're going to need him. They don't have receivers right now outside of Deebo Samuel and Juwan Jennings. They're going to need a third guy to step up, whether it's Cowing, whether it's Pearsall, whether it's both of them. They need one or both of those guys to step up in a big way if they're going to, continue making a playoff run this year. And it turns out the NFC West, just not a very good division. So they're, 3-4. They're still in second behind the Seahawks by 1 game. I think maybe it's technically 2 games. No, I think it is 1 game. Either way, they're right in the thick of things, and they still have like all of their divisional play games coming up. So, and they just beat the Seahawks back, head to head the previous week. So, all is not lost. All is not lost, friends, but you're going to need some young players to step up in a big way if you want to continue. Also getting Christian McCaffrey back would be ideal. We'll just say that. It would be quite ideal to get Christian McCaffrey back. As far as the Chiefs, though, they didn't look great. They haven't really looked great all season. But they go out here, they get a win. The defense still looks fantastic. Steve Spagnuolo is one of the most dynamic defensive coordinators in the NFL, and he continues to show that in this game. Outside of that, though, offensively, you got solid contributions out of Kareem Hunt. Not efficient, but he got you 2 touchdowns, and that's all you needed when your defense is playing like they were. Patrick Mahomes still doesn't look fantastic at times, but he is still Patrick Mahomes. He had a rope-a-dope down the sidelines in this one that set up a score that was just incredible. Even if he's not playing well, you watch him play and you're just like, that's the best quarterback in the league right now. There's no real debate. There's Patrick Mahomes and there's everyone else. He just needs receivers around him. And good news for him, help is on the way. I need to remember who it was. Yes. The Titans are on a selling spree right now. It seems like they are tanking big time. They shipped off DeAndre Hopkins to the Chiefs. I don't really know what the compensation was, but they're shipping him off to the Chiefs. Chiefs get their number one wide receiver. We'll see what DeAndre Hopkins has left in the tank, but if he has anything, Patrick Mahomes is going to take advantage of that. And hey, having a guy like DeAndre Hopkins around, it makes everyone's job easier on the offense and the receiving corps, particularly Xavier Worthy. I'm looking for him to get a few more splash plays. He was quiet in this past game, 3 receptions, 19 yards. I would know he's on my bench. But you're going to need more at some point. I think he's going to produce more because Patrick Mahomes is going to turn into Patrick Mahomes at some point this year. But having DeAndre Hopkins helps that case. You're still probably going to get the safety over the top because that speed scares the hell out of you as a defense. But you got to kind of, do what you can to mitigate DeAndre Hopkins as well because he's still a threat. Terrible quarterback play should not fool you. DeAndre Hopkins is still a solid receiver in this league. So this is a good addition for the Chiefs. They're still the best. I don't know if they're the best overall team in the AFC. They just feel inevitable, though. They're 6-0. I don't ever feel like they're in that much danger of losing a game because of who they have at every level of the team. The Chiefs is the Chiefs. What more is there to say? The Chiefs is the Chiefs. And the Jets go on the road in the Sunday night game to the Pittsburgh Steelers. A lot of excitement in the building with the guy Davante Adams making his debut with the New York Jets. A lot of excitement. People looking forward to it. And they walked out right on the field, stood on the center logo, took a panoramic vista of the scene. Took it all in. Had a nice approving nod. Then they pulled down their pants, took a squat, and took a massive, messy shit. That's what the Jets did in this game. They lost to the Steelers 37-15. Don't know why I started with the losing score there, but they lost 37-15. Russell Wilson threw for 2 touchdowns, ran for another one. Looks like Mike Tomlin, gutsy decision, might have been the right one. Looks like Russell Wilson still has enough left in the tank to where you can win with them when you have a defense as good as the Steelers are. Man, you play against a team like the Steelers, though, if you're the Jets, just get Davante Adams on the team. You just expect more, and it feels like, excuse me real quick, sorry, I had to clear out the pipes there. I apologize. It just feels like the Jets are an inevitable and perpetual shit show, and I don't see how that ever changes. And you can get all the players in there that you want. No one's going to make it matter. Woody Johnson still owns the team. They're going to hire a dud coach. They're probably going to stick with Not John Robinson. I don't remember his name, but if he was good, I would have a reason to remember his name. I'm sure it's going to come to me here in a minute, and I'm going to be kicking myself for not knowing it. But the Jets GM, he's still not good. The Jets are just stinky. They're poo-poo. They're so bad. They're just as bad as they were last year. Maybe that's a little bit harsh, but the drop-off of the defense accounts for the incline in offensive play. The Jets are just bad. Steelers 5-2 though. They are very much in the thick of things for the AFC North. They're right up there with the Baltimore Ravens. Feels like the Baltimore Ravens are a better team right now. However, the Steelers at 5-2, very much a threat. If Russell Wilson just gives them average quarterback play, makes a solid play every now and then that you maybe didn't expect to, feeds George Pickens the ball because he is quite literally your only wide receiver right now, I could see the Steelers making some noise in the AFC. Maybe finishing better than 9-8. We'll see. Hey, 10-7? Is 10-7 on the table right now, Mike Tomlin? Hey, that's my challenge to you. Go 10-7, not 9-8. Because I know that the floor is 9-8. And we've made a very pointed explanation here in the divisional previews. The peak was 9-8. The floor was 9-8. The expectation, 9-8. That's what the Steelers have been. Hey, maybe they're a little bit better this year. The defense is great. Absolutely great. If they can continue to run the ball like they've been doing, Najee Harris, another 100-yard game in this one. That's his second straight. They continue to run the ball. If the passing game kind of picks it up just a little bit, very much in the thick of things in a down AFC year. So that's a team to watch. under the radar, but that is a team to watch here going forward. Mike Tomlin just wins games. He can't help it. He wakes up in the morning, wins a game. It's just what he does. Okay, so the Monday night games, we had ourselves a classic doubleheader here of the Ravens at the Buccaneers and the Chargers at the Cardinals. Let's just go in chronological order like we have been doing. First off, the Ravens go on the road to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. High-scoring affair. I mean, if you had the over, you were living large in this game. If you had an alternate over, you probably hit big in this game. But that being said, the Ravens do go on the road, and they get there. I believe this is their 5th straight win. After going down 10-0 in the first quarter, it looked like all the momentum was on the Buccaneers side. Ravens score 17 unanswered, actually 34 unanswered in quarters 2 and 3. They win the game 41-31. Bucs ultimately made it a little bit interesting at the end, but alas, no cigar. Good things for the Bucs though. Mike Evans got his 100th receiving touchdown of his career. Certified bona fide Hall of Famer. Nothing more that needs to be said about him, except the fact that he did sustain a significant hamstring injury, and he's probably out for 4 weeks. There's a good chance he's going on IR, so that's not great. It's still better news in the fact that on the final drive of the game, where the Buccaneers were just kind of living on a prayer and hoping for a miracle, Chris Godwin catches the ball over the middle, lunges for a first down, and I believe it was Roquan Smith ended his season. He dislocated his ankle. It was one of those that ESPN declined to replay. However, I got a streaming TV service, so I just, boop, 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 back that thing up because I had to see the injury, of course. I'm a morbid sick fuck. But I watched the play over again. You watch the end, and then you look at his feet, and one of them is facing the wrong direction. So, yeah, not great. Chris Godwin is done for the year. You don't have Mike Evans. Your number one receiver now is probably Jalen McMillan. I think the Buccaneers stick a fork in them. They're done this year, man. I don't know if the defense is good enough to outweigh the fact that the offense is going to suffer from losing their two best, frankly, their two best players on the offense. They have a good stable of backs. Maybe they can kind of lean into running the ball a little bit more. But they got their work cut out for them right now, man. And granted, the Saints have fallen off. It really is a two-team division now with the Buccaneers and the Atlanta Falcons, and the Falcons aren't that much better than them, so they still have a shot. But what do? You're going to make the playoffs, host a playoff game. If you're lucky, you get a team that's kind of on a schneid like the Eagles last year. You catch them sleeping, and you can win a playoff game. Is that your best hope? Because outside of that, this isn't a team that's going to go deep in the playoffs. They're a flawed football team. They're not going to go deep in the playoffs. So I don't know. Without Chris Godwin, I don't really have any sort of expectations for this team. It's a shame. They were playing great offensive football for the first portion of this year. We'll just have to see how Liam Cohen adapts. He has acquitted himself nicely this year so far. Okay, but as far as the Ravens go, I can't breeze past our guy Lamar Jackson because he balled. Absolutely played out of his mind. He's looking for a second straight MVP this season. He went 17 of 22, 281 yards, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. Lost a fumble. That's forgivable when you account for 5 touchdowns. Also ran for 52 yards. I believe he is only one of 3 players who have rushed for 50 yards and accounted for 5 touchdowns in a game. Or at the very least, quarterbacks who've rushed for 50 yards and passed for 5 touchdowns in a game, or accounted for. I don't remember what the stat was. Sue me. It's happened 5 times. Lamar Jackson's done it 3. The other 2, I believe, are Cam Newton and Mitchell Trubisky. So, in elite company. Mitchell Trubisky notwithstanding. Elite company there. He is just building his Hall of Fame resume at this point. And this is, in the pantheon of great seasons for Lamar Jackson, the guy's won 2 MVPs at this point. He's having his best so far, and certainly not an exaggeration to say It is helped a lot by the fact that they now have a legitimate, bona fide bell cow running back in Derrick Henry. He had another big-time performance, extended his rushing lead in the NFL with 169 yards on just 15 carries in this game. He broke off a couple long ones to ultimately break this game open and seal it late. He was indispensable throughout this game, and he's going to be indispensable throughout this season. If Lamar Jackson is playing the way that he is, and he has a running back like Derrick Henry, this is the best offense in the NFL. And I guess the Lions would be a fairly close second, but there's just no one that has the gear like the Baltimore Ravens do. And if the defense can just show an ounce of life, I mean, just an iota of being able to stop the opponents, which they did in this game. They held them scoreless for the middle two quarters here in this game, so that is worth noting. But if they can continue to improve throughout the year, and they kind of round into, a little bit better defense than what they've been showing right now, I mean, this Ravens team, they might be the best team in the entire NFL. I mean, that's not an exaggeration to put that out there. So, I mean, I've been nothing but impressed with the Ravens since that 0-2 start. Are they maybe the best 0-2 team of all time? There's an argument to be made for it. They've been spectacular this year, and I expect them to be. I mean, I would say after they work the Bills, they're the best team in the AFC right now. I think that's pretty safe to say. And it's just them and the Chiefs. I'd still probably give the Chiefs a nod because, again, they feel inevitable. But the Ravens, man, this might be the best team that they've had, and it's not something I expected after the attrition they had in the offseason. So, again, a team to watch, a bona fide contender, and maybe the second straight MVP for Lamar Jackson. He is certainly the front runner right this second. Okay, final game of the week, a game that I'm talking you and me, if we both bet on this game, I know I did, lost money. The Chargers go on the road, a game that I just assume that Jim Harbaugh is going to win, and the Cardinals proved that was a unfortunate and untrue assumption. They get the win over the Chargers, who failed to score a touchdown. They score 5 field goals, 17-15, and wouldn't you know, the only field goal that the Cardinals kicked all game was the final one. With time, I don't know if it was necessarily running off the clock, but it was, basically right at the very end of the game. Actually, no, I think they kicked it with 0 seconds left on the clock. So as the time expired, Chad Ryland, who you may remember being terrible with the New England Patriots and being cut as a result, as a draft pick, by the way. You have to be a special kind of terrible to be cut as a draft pick at the kicking position. But, hey, pulled through when they needed him this time. Was shaky. Still is a shaky kicker. He's not your long-term solution, but hey, he got the job done now. Cardinals are 3-4 in a division that is not very good. They're still very much in the thick of this right now. Also, by the way, shout out to Will Dissly, Chargers tight end, stepped up in a big way with a career day. 8 receptions, 81 yards for the Chargers. Was part of the reason that they were in this game, and the only reason I really mention that is because he's also the reason why I won in fantasy this week. I should stop talking about my fantasy football team. No one gives a shit. But yeah, I think, the Chargers are obviously a flawed football team. They don't really have a wide receiver core right now. It's just Lab McConkey. I guess Trey Palmer is still there. Josh Palmer, not Trey Palmer. Trey Palmer is a different wide receiver. Josh Palmer is still there, so that's good, I guess. Great as your number 3, not awesome as your number 2. And then there's just nothing. There's just nothing to write home about. The run game is good, but they've got some issues in the passing game, and they need players, is what they need. They got a really solid coaching staff. Great head coach, great defensive coordinator, seemingly, in Jesse Minter. Greg Roman, he's Greg Roman, I suppose, so, that's a ding against him. But at the end of the day, the players are what's going to win you games in the long run. Now, you're going to drop games like this when you don't have the right personnel outside of Justin Herbert to go out there and grasp a game and take it home with you. So, Chargers could still be a playoff team in the AFC, but they're kind of exactly who I thought they would be. Just solid team, better than people may have expected, just not good enough to ultimately make any noise in the postseason. So, that is it for Week 7. let us take a quick look ahead to Week 8 in the NFL. Like I said, I have got 7 hot and juicy bets for you. Let me just pull them up right now so I can get a nice refresher on what they are. Okay. We got quite a few NFL bets this week, actually, it looks like. Well, by quite a few, I mean 3. So 3 of the 7 I'm giving out today. But a quick recap of what we've already got out there. Boise State UNLV, over 65.5. I believe that number has come down. So go on and get that. It's maybe going to be the game of the week. That's my selling point. Late kick on Friday night. If you're a loser like me, not really a loser, but still, if you're like me, don't really have any plans, kind of feel like staying home, being a homebody, and you want to watch some football until ungodly hours, this is the game for you. It's going to be on until like 2:30 in the morning. It's going to be 1,000,000 points. I mean, a bunch of passes. Ashton Genty's probably going to have like 250 yards, and it's going to be electric. So I'm taking the over 65.5 because it is a fun over. But with that said, let's get into the slate of games in the NFL, and I'll hand out the 3 that I've got here in this slate. So starting off the day here, on Thursday night, the Vikings go on the road. Tonight, actually, as you're listening to this, the Vikings go on the road to the Los Angeles Rams. Rams getting Cooper Kupp back. That'll be a boost for them. Vikings secondary that struggled last week. Another Sean McVay. Well, not a Sean McVay disciple. Sean McVay himself is hosting the Vikings this week. Brian Flores has had some trouble with those types of schemes from time to time. So, something to monitor there. The Vikings are obviously the better team. They should win this game. I have no faith in my boys to necessarily cover the spread. I think this could be a crazy, weird game as things tend to work out on Thursday night. So I'm staying away from the spread. Over-under is 48.5. 48 in most places, actually. I think 48.5 is only for FanDuel. So if you want to bet the under, that's the place to do it, it looks like. I don't have much of an opinion on that. I think 48 is... I mean, maybe I'd even lean the under. I think the Rams are going to try and make this just a disgusting game. We'll see if they succeed, but that would be my only lean. I don't have a strong opinion on that, so we'll keep it moving. If I had to pick, you had to back me in the corner. I'm picking the Vikings, but I don't feel confident in that pick. I'll say that right now. Let's hope to not lose 2 in a row, boys. Let's lock it in. Let's lock it in. Okay. Cardinals on the road at the Dolphins. Tua Tagovailoa may be returning for this game. So, probably the reason why they're favored in this one. 3.5s across the board. Over-under, you can find anywhere. It's either going to be 45.5 or 46.5. I'm going to wait on the status of Tua before I make that determination of which way I would lean. I would certainly lean the over if Tua is playing, definitely the under if he's not. However, 3.5s across the board for the spread. Again, this is all so much dependent on Tua's health. If he plays in this game, if he plays well, I think the Dolphins are going to bury him in this game. But the Cardinals, they're feisty, man. This is the second straight year where they've been feisty. And now they're starting to win games as a feisty team. I think Kyler Murray's the type of quarterback that can give the Dolphins defense a little bit of trouble with his legs, with some of the explosive plays he's able to generate. I don't know. I don't feel strongly about this, and therefore I'm not betting it. I'm not betting it. If you put me in a corner, I'd actually take the Cardinals plus 3.5. I mean, the Dolphins, when you just have the vibe of suck around you, it's just contagious, and it's hard to get out of that vibe. So give me the Cardinals at plus 3.5. Not betting that, but if you're going to make me pick, give me the Cardinals. Okay, so we have got the Jets at the Patriots. Jets favored by 7. You may remember at home last time, the Jets ran the Patriots out of the building on Thursday night. If you're going to make me pick, it's Jets minus 7. I'm not betting on this Patriots team anymore. It worked out for me in week 1. It's probably never going to work out for me again, and I don't anticipate testing that theory. So give me the Jets on that one. Patriots are terribad. Over-under 41 in most places. Get a 48.5 over at FanDuel if you're looking to bet the under. I'd still probably lean the under on that. I don't think either of these teams are going to score a whole lot of points. And I think if the Jets end up scoring 29, the Patriots are probably scoring like 10. So I think the under is probably the play here if you are going to play the total. Excuse me, I had to sniffle. I was getting a little congested. Okay, so we have got the Falcons at the Buccaneers. big-time game, big-time divisional implications in this one. Falcons are favored by 2.5. I would certainly lean the Falcons on that side. They're just, not as destroyed by injuries as the Buccaneers are. And I guess I just have more faith in them. Even coming off of a shellacking against the Seahawks, just got more faith in the Falcons. So I'm not betting it, but give me the Falcons at 2.5. I don't trust either of these teams. That's why I'm not betting it. Over-under is 46 in most places. You get a 45.5 over at FanDuel. I don't have a real opinion on this. I think it's probably like dead on the money. I'd probably lean the over just because I feel like both the offenses can generate enough offense to cover that 45.5. I'm staying away from it though. I don't feel strongly in either direction on that. Just a lean to the over, I guess. The slightest of leans. You wouldn't even notice it if you were just passing by and just had a cursory glance. You'd have to look closely to notice that lean towards the over there. Okay, Titans are on the road at the Lions. I mean, I'm tempted to take the 10.5, quite frankly, over at FanDuel. And you're tempting me. You are tempting me, baby. I'll tell you what. Let me think about it for like 2 seconds. Yep, I made up my mind. Lions 10.5. We're adding it to the slates. It's over at FanDuel where I'm getting the 10.5. You're laying a little bit of juice on it, but I have a feeling the Lions are going to absolutely annihilate the Titans. So, writing it down now. I'll place the bet after I'm done recording here, and then we'll be good to go from there. Okay, so the Titans, the Lions minus 10.5 against the Tiddlywinks. Okay, so over/under 44.5. I'd still probably lean the under because I think the Lions are going to suck the life out of the Titans in this game. Whatever life is left, they're going to suck it right up. They're just going to suck it dry. So there you go. Packers at the Jaguars. This is our first official bet that I'm adding in there from the slate. Obviously, add the Lions, but this is the first one that I had that I just jotted down for the notes. So I got the Packers at minus 4.5. You can actually get them at 4 now, basically everywhere but FanDuel at the moment. So Packers 4.5 against the Jaguars. They are at the Jaguars, but that number is just too light. I think the Packers are going to run the Jaguars out of their own stadium. I don't think it's going to be particularly close. So I'm taking the Packers at minus 4.5. I feel pretty good about that. I think Packers offense is going to be able to do basically whatever they want against this Jaguars defense. So that's why I'm going that direction. Not to even mention the Packers defense. I think they're probably in a good position to dominate as well. So over/under is 49.5 to 48.5. You're just going to have to shop around for that number. It kind of varies from place to place. Looks like the only place with a 48.5 is going to be FanDuel. So if you're leaning the over, go ahead over there. I think that number's pretty dead on the money, so I'm staying away from that. Slightly into the over because it would be fun, but that no real opinion on that whatsoever. The Colts are at the Texans. Texans are favored by 5 in this game. You can get a 5.5 over at FanDuel if you're looking to bet on the Colts. Things just kind of get weird in the division sometimes, and the Texans have not looked impressive this year at times, so I'm staying away from this. I'm staying away from it. It's minus 5.5. It is at home, or minus 5. It is at home. The lean would obviously be to the Texans, but I can't bring myself to pull the trigger. I mean, by God, I've already got 9 bets in the slate. No need to add another one there on that, so we're staying away from that. Over/under 46, I would probably lean the under. I don't think the Colts are going to be able to score a whole lot of points in this game. So you can get a 46.5 on the under over at FanDuel, obviously. So with that said, okay, yeah, Ravens-Browns. Just had a mild brain fart there for a second. Ravens are favored by, looks like an 8.5 is the best that you're going to get. You can get, even money or a little bit of juice in your favor there with DraftKings and ESPN bet on that. Obviously, I would take the Ravens on this spread, but we'll have to see what the Browns look like without the 500-pound weight that is Deshawn Watson weighing down the entire team. staying away from the Browns until further notice. I'm fascinated by what they're putting together there. If Jameis Winston can have any semblance of solid quarterback play, they're going to be in good shape. So I'm staying away from that spread. Obviously, lean the Ravens though. Over under is 44.5. I think that's pretty dead on the money. There's a chance that the Ravens come out here and cover that spread on their own. But not adding that one to the betting slate. So we'll move past that. Eagles at the Bengals. Bengals are favored by, you can get anywhere from a 1.5 to a 2.5. 1.5 is at FanDuel. Looks like nowhere else. So if you're leaning the Bengals, go right ahead. I don't necessarily trust either of these teams. So if there was a play, it'd be on the over at 47.5. You can find that over at FanDuel. Still don't necessarily trust the Eagles offense enough to make it click, so I'm staying away. I'm staying away on both accounts, but lean the Eagles at plus 2.5. You can find that at quite a few different locations. So lean the Eagles at plus 2.5 just because I think Saquon is the weight that tips the scale, so to speak, for him. I think the advantage that he gives the Eagles in the running game is ultimately going to pull through for him. So that's my lean at plus 2.5. I just don't trust the Eagles. I'm not putting my hard-earned money on the Philadelphia Eagles right now. They're just too inconsistent. You don't know what you're getting from them week for week. So I'm staying away from that. Hard lean to the 47.5 over. I just can't bring myself to pull the trigger on it. We do have another bet, though. This one coming in the early window of the 4 o'clock slate. The Bills are on the road at the Seahawks. They are favored by 3 points, and we're taking them. -3, you can still find that pretty much across the board with even juice. That's probably going to be available when this episode comes out. So, yeah, Bills -3. I just think the Bills are a far superior football team to the Seahawks, and I think they're going to show it on Sunday. I don't think it's probably going to be as bad as last week, and the Seahawks seem to be improving. But I think the Bills are gonna lay it on the Seahawks. I think they're gonna give it to them good. So yeah, -3, give me that all day. Over under is 47.5, 47 in most places. You just get a 47.5 over at FanDuel. I have no lean on that. No lean whatsoever. I'm declining that option. Saints are at the Chargers for another early window 4 o'clock game. Chargers are favored by 7.5 in most places. You can still find a rogue 7 out there over at ESPN Bet and DraftKings. I'm probably staying away from it. I don't necessarily trust the Chargers. That's a big spread for a team with a lot of flaws. The Saints are bad though, so the lean is obviously the Chargers. So that's where I stand on that. Over unders 40.5. You'd be a fool to bet an over in a game where the Chargers are playing football. So under 40.5, that's the lean on that one. Not betting it, though. The number is just simply too low for me to palate, quite frankly. This isn't Iowa football here, okay? This is the pros, folks. Bears are at the Commies. Big-time game. Matchup of the top 2 picks in this past draft with Caleb Williams going on the road to Jaden Daniels' house. The Bears, they are favored by 2.5 points. If Jaden Daniels doesn't play in this game, give me the Bears. If Jaden Daniels does, though, give me the Commanders. That's just how I feel. I think the Commanders, wildly enough, I think have a better team than the Bears right now, which I would not have said remotely in the preseason. I definitely would have said the opposite there. But wild. Again, cannot stress enough how good that the Commanders have handled the last, I would say, the year of 2024, let's just call it. Cannot stress enough how impressed I am with the turnaround that they've had in 1 year. A quarterback and the right coaching staff, the right, administration in place, changes the dynamic, man. No two ways about it. It changes the dynamic. Okay, so, yeah. Did I even pick the game? Okay, so I guess I had some conditional picks there. Give me the Commies. Give me the Commies. If you're going to make me commit hard to one side, you can still get a +3 over at ESPN Bet. The juice on that's just too high. So, yeah, +2.5. Not adding it as a bet, but if you're going to make me pick, that's what I'll pick. Over-under is 43 in some places, 43.5 in others. Give me the over. It's a hard lean on the over. I don't know if I trust either of these teams enough to bet that over. Some solid defense, especially from the Bears, coming out in this game. but I'd certainly lean the over. I think both these offenses are hitting their stride right now. So definitely a hard lean on the over at 43. And moving on to another 4 o'clock game here. How many 4 o'clock games are there? There's a plethora of 4 o'clock games. Entirely too many games in the witching hour this coming week. We got to chill out on that. Panthers are at the Broncos, though. Broncos are favored by pretty much 10 across the board. It's 9.5 over at FanDuel, but the juice is minus 120. It's too rich for my blood. Too much juice. That's a gallon of juice. I only asked for a cup. So probably staying away from that. I would certainly lean the Broncos at minus 10, but I just can't bring myself to bet my hard-earned money on Bo Nix. I know the Panthers are terrible. I know the Broncos are probably going to cover this spread. I just can't bring myself to pull the trigger, so I'm not doing it. Obviously, the lean is to the Broncos, though, because the Panthers are god-awful. Over-under is 41.5 in most places, 42 over at BetMGM. That's it. Just BetMGM, it looks like. So lean under. Yeah, lean the under. I mean, the Broncos can't really score. The Panthers aren't going to score against the Broncos defense. Just give me the under. I'm not betting it, but give me the under in this game if you can get it at that 42, I suppose. Chiefs are on the road at the Raiders. This was borderline. Very, very close to me betting on this game, and there's still no guarantee that I won't bet on this game with my own hard-earned money. 10's big. 10 is a big spread, and, now the Chiefs have DeAndre Hopkins. Call it a maybe. Call it, quite a favorable lean, you would call it. Am I going to do it? Am I going to do it? Okay, give me a quiet second of contemplation. Just a quiet second of contemplation here while I mull this over. It's tempting. It is very, very tempting. Yep, fuck it. We're doing it. Chiefs minus 10. We're adding it to the slates. I could bet on FanDuel and get that 9.5. The juice is just too rich for me, so I'm getting the extra point. I'm going Chiefs minus 10 at the Raiders. It's a divisional game. No. Scratch that. That's the reason why I didn't bet on this game in the first place. I'm glad I remembered that and didn't walk myself into that. Will the Chiefs probably cover this spread? There's a good chance. Probably. I'd say 80% of the time they're probably going to cover this spread. That's not what any sort of gambling model is going to tell you, but that's just kind of how I feel. The Raiders have had a habit of giving the Chiefs trouble in situations where they're very much not expected to, and that could happen in this game. My fear of that is keeping me from adding this game to the slate. Probably the hardest lean that we have had in this episode to the Chiefs. Again, I might bet this with my own money, but the weirdness of the Raiders, I'm staying away. I'm staying away. I can't palate it. Over-under, by the way, 41.5. I'd still lean the under because the Raiders stink, and the Chiefs' defense is still very good. I can't bring myself to bet them. I simply can't. So we're moving on from there. Cowboys are at the 49ers. 49ers are favored by 4 in most places. You can get a 4.5 over at FanDuel. If for some unknown and ill-advised reason you want to bet on the Cowboys, I guess you can justify it if you want. I mean, 49ers are a little bit bereft due to injury. But still, lean the 49ers. Cowboys are fucking awful. They're so bad. And that's all I got to say about the Cowboys. So give me the team that's at least okay over the team that is awful. That's my lean on that. Over-under 45.5 to 46.5. You're going to have to shop around on that line. I would lean the under because I don't think the Cowboys are going to score a whole lot of points in this game. So, yeah, give me the under at 46.5. Not betting it again, but it's kind of where I stand on the whole issue. Either way, we got the last game of the week, and it is our final bet of the week. I got the Steelers at minus 5.5. Now, that number has now moved to 6.5, so I apologize for that. I got it at 5.5, though. I would still probably take it at 6.5. They're just a better football team than the New York Giants. And with Russ in there, I saw a little bit of spark against the Jets, and they got another bad team at home. I think the Steelers take care of business in a big way and cover that 5.5 spread. I still like it at 6.5, so feel free to bet that, but unfortunately it has moved an entire point since I bet it. Sorry about that, folks. So that is my final NFL bet. A couple more college ones to add. I got 3 of them to be exact. First off, we got Miami minus 20.5 versus FSU. Didn't check before the episode. Not sure if that's moved or not. You're probably going to want to move on that because a lot of public money is probably going on Miami this week. So going to want to get in early on that one. So we got Miami minus 20.5 versus FSU. Texas A&M minus 2.5 against LSU. I just think they're a better football team. And I think that this week, Texas A&M is going to make a statement. They're going to win this game. And that's why I got them at minus 2.5. Don't feel fantastic about that the more the time goes on, but I did already bet it. So we're locked in now, baby. Texas A&M minus 2.5. I'm taking Cincy, Colorado over 57.5. I think Colorado's going to score some points in this game. And I think Cincy, the offense hasn't been bad this year. They're a sneaky 5-2. Sneaky 5-2 this year. I think there's going to be points scored in this game. I think Colorado's defense is still not that great. I think Colorado's offense can score on basically anybody, so give me that over at 57.5. I think that's just going to be a fun Big 12 football game. And, of course, that is it for the bets. One more time, we got 9 of them because I added an extra one that I didn't anticipate adding, and I will bet that after I'm done recording, obviously. But we have got Boise State UNLV over 65.5. Packers, minus 4.5 at the Jags. You can now get that at 4. Bills, minus 3 at the Seahawks. Steelers, minus 5.5 versus the Giants. That's moved to 6.5. I apologize once again. Still like it at 6.5. Georgia Tech. I didn't say them. I'm taking Georgia Tech at Virginia Tech plus 10.5. Sorry, I forgot to. I skipped that one. Texas A&M, minus 2.5 versus LSU. Miami, minus 20.5 versus FSU. Cincy, Colorado over 57.5. And Lions, minus 10.5 versus the Titans. With that, that is all, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in to Unqualified Analysis. I am your host, Caleb V. You can follow me on Twitter at CalebVUA. I don't know why I call myself Caleb V. I pretty much never do that. I kind of like the ring to it. Might keep using that. Either way, though, you can follow me on the Twitters at CalebVUA. It's down in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. Also linked down in the description. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe, like, rate, share with a friend, or 5 or 15, even if you want to. Help me grow this thing. Thank you very much. We do episodes twice a week. College football on Tuesdays, NFL on Thursdays, with a preview of the week ahead in both of those episodes. If you want to reach out to me, go on over to that Twitter, shoot me a DM. I will probably reply to that most expediently, or you can go to the email, which is unqualifiedanalysis@gmail.com. That is also down in the description. With that said, though, wow, thank you so much for tuning in to Unqualified Analysis. As always, I have got no clue what I'm talking about. One thing I learned this week, and I'm going to have to go off the top of the dome on this one because I did not add another notes in the notes app there, and the well has officially run dry on things that I learned this week. What did I learn this week? What did I learn? Think back to the things that you learned throughout the course of this week. I say. What did I learn this week? This was just not a very much of a learning week. Not very much of a learning week at all. Trying to think. That this is embarrassing. This is getting embarrassing. We're just drawing out the episode at this point with, saying the things that I'm saying, trying to come up with something that I learned this week. And there are things that I learned, for sure. There are absolutely things that I learned. I just, for the life of me, cannot remember them. Yeah, I don't know. I give up. Sorry about that, folks. I just wasted about 2 minutes of your time. I apologize. I'm going to have facts for you next week, folks. I'm going to have facts for you, and that's a fact right there. I got no family stuff going on this weekend, so I'm going to be listening to a lot more podcasts, and I'm going to be writing down some fun facts so I don't run into this situation again. Either way, enjoy the weekend. Maybe be profitable and responsible in the pursuit of that profit. And, let's just go get it, folks. Let's just go get it. Let's attack the weekend, and hope you enjoy the football. I will see you on Tuesday. Until then, have a good weekend. See ya.